What is going on, my friends? So today I'm going to be showing you simple beginner chess openings that are straightforward, easy to understand, limited theory, limited danger, and give you nice, fun, dynamic games. Got a handful to cover with both the white and the black pieces, and the first one is one you should all be familiar with, and it goes a little bit like this. It goes d4, opponent responds with d5, and you go bishop f4. The London system. Now, it's called a system, not an opening as such, because the move order doesn't matter. You can play, shall we say, about 7, 8 moves. Realistically, any order, so long as you don't blunder anything and don't be stupid. So, let's say the opponent goes, oh, I don't know. Let's say they go knight f6 is normally quite simple. You almost always want to go in with e3 and make a nice little triangle sort of thing going on here. It's all shapes. You know, a toddler could understand it. It's so simple. It really is. Again, they might go e6. They want to try and develop the dark squared bishop, something like that. You can then go knight f3. Just an important point to add. c5 is pretty much imperative. If you're playing against London with black, always play c5. So chances are, if you're playing it with white, you will see c5. The moment you do, this is something that move order does matter slightly. You want to play c3. You want to get this little tower of pawns here, this little pyramid thing going on, Illuminati style, and you want to strengthen this d pawn here. You don't want to take and allow him free development. That's not how it works. So let's say black goes knight c6, developing another piece. You can go knight d2, and then let's say black goes, I don't know, bishop e7, something like that. Black's moves could quite literally be anything. That's the joy of the London system. It is simple. You'll come to bishop d3, your castle. You can put your queen on either one of these squares. Bit of pawn play, pushes in the center, and your first 15 moves are pretty much done for you, you know? It's as straightforward as that. That is the London system. Now, one caveat. Once you've... Okay, let's go e6, castles. Once you've kind of finished your general development and you've got a structure like this, there is one final step left to do. That, my friends, is never, ever reproduce. If you play the London system, you are a neek. You are a neek. Don't play this opening. Please. It's so boring. Don't spread into the gene pool with your scummy offspring. Let's go to a real opening. Okay. e4, e5, knight f3. Black plays knight c6 to guard the e-pawn. The bishop comes out to b5. This is the Spanish. The Spanish is sexy. It's played by sexy people. And I know high-level players will probably tell you don't play it because it's so theory-dense and complicated. It doesn't matter at the sort of sub-2000 level, truth be told, because no one knows much theory in anything. And what I like about the Spanish is that it is relatively safe. There aren't any real, tricks or swindles early doors from either colour. You just play chess and get on with it. So, let's say black goes a6, quite a common line. You just drop your bishop back, b5, bishop b3. Nice and simple. General plans are you want maybe either c3 and d4, or you can just go d3. Obviously, you're going to castle short. Let's just highlight it. Let's just do it. Let's go knight f6, d3 to guard the pawn, and then let's go bishop b7. Bring the knight out. Let's say the bishop develops to a nice square castle. It's just simple. It's nice and easy. You've got good scope for attack. You've got knight g5 ideas in sort of a fried liver fashion. You've got e4 to try and crack open and hit this diagonal. You've got knight e2 to try and swing the knight over to g3, or to play c3 and then fall back on the d4 idea. So many options. You just need a few moments to get to grips with it. 5 games tops to really understand, but the pawn structures are always really fun to play, I find, in these e4, e5, or sort of positional ideas. There really are no real surprises in the Spanish. It's a nice, fun opening. Just don't tell any master level player that you're playing it, because they'll probably crucify you, but that's alright. Next opening we can look at is the Caro-Kann defense, which again I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, but to actually know the different lines and the different intricacies, I could do a whole other video on it, but just to introduce you to it, the whole point of this video is see what takes you fancy, see what you like, because if you enjoy the opening you play, it will enhance your chess. I'm not a big fan of opening study and learning 20 moves of prep when you still blunder pieces on move 5. That's pointless. But if you enjoy the opening you play, your chess may well flourish. So, to highlight it, it starts with, obviously this is with the black pieces now, it starts with e4, c6, usually you'll get people play d4, and then you go d5. And there's a multitude of options here. There's loads of stupid ones like the fantasy variation and all this stuff that takes you into like kind of main lines. You've got all kinds of weird and wacky things. Actually, I don't think h3 is a line. Ignore me on that one. But the critical ways are, first of all, Caro-Kann exchange. This is really easy because everything else plays itself. Put a knight here, you put a bishop out where it won't be, sent straight to the slaughter. You play e6, you get your dark squared bishop out, you get your knight out. Really easy development. That is simple. Nice and simple. And that's how I play it with white as well, because I just like a simple game. I don't like to get too technical with it. Then you have the advance. There's 2 ways to play this. You can either go c5 or bishop f5. I used to play c5 quite a lot. I recommend bishop f5 now. Again, just find it more fun. That's my preference. I'm going to go e6. Then you're going to try and play for c5 afterwards. c5 still is a big theme in this opening. e6 first, c5, put the knight on c6, queen can come out here, try and pressure these lines. Again, all simple stuff. The only drawback of the Caro-Kann, I must stress, is it will take you a while to castle short. And castling long isn't really an option, don't do it. It will take you a few moves. You've got to be quite comfortable with having your king in the middle of the board for a little while, but on the whole, it is safe. Just to highlight an interesting line, this is the Tal variation with h4. It requires some accurate play. You can go, computers saying now there's h5 or c5 as options. I would always just play h6. Obviously, once g4 comes, if you haven't got this square to come back to, your bishop gets trapped. That is a risk. If you come here, I have won a game before going bishop e4 and they were pre-moving h5 or something. And I just took the rook and won. So you can always try that. It's nice to induce this kind of weakness. Or you can just go straight back to h7. Entirely your preference. But once you've cracked that, it's all good. Then you can get in some right nitty-gritty lines. Say if they go e6, you can go fe6, or you can actually go queen d6, which is something I sometimes play, and go into this. Put the knight here, break out, get the bishop out, get the knight out. Admittedly, that is tricky stuff, but you don't have to go into it, is the point. It's just, you fancy a bit of a complicated game, that is a way to go. With that being said, not e5, we're not doing e5. Generally speaking, this is a good way to go. e6, nice and solid, good pressure here. Caro-Kann is really, really good opening. It is an excellent choice. Your other option, as was mentioned earlier, the fantasy. You only really, people get scared when they see this. They see a Gotham chess video on like how to crush the Caro-Kann, and it can be tricky at first. If you learn just one way to play against it, chances are white will just give you everything you want anyway. So take, then go e5. If they take, then no castling for white. Fantastic. They push, again you can take. So they have to do something. They can't really clarify in the center just yet. They'll go knight f3, try and watch over everything here. I would then recommend bishop g4, setting up a pin. And then the tricky move, as always, is bishop c4. Because let's say you do nothing, bishop f7, king f7, and knight e5. And yeah, you've just been squished. Full-on windscreen styly. Yeah, you're finished. So don't allow that, obviously. Instead, you go... Again, you kind of have to know this. It can be hard to see this over the board. Bishop h5, just guards the pawn. Everything's fine and dandy. This, remember, don't be scared of ghosts. You can just take. Here, you have an escape square. You're fine. Same goes for taking here, really. Castling rights are gone again. This pin has sort of reinvigorated itself in a more forcing manner. Nice and simple. You have a game. Very little risk. Now the final one is, we'll do a bit of a bonus clip, why not? Because this is something that I wish I had known a lot sooner. If ever you get faced with e4, e5, knight f3, knight f6, the Petrov defense, don't take the pawn. Just don't take the pawn, because this is where you get into your Stafford Gambit stuff and all that. All those wishy-washy lines where you get blown off the board in 8 moves because they sack the queen but deliver mate. And I don't know the ins and outs of the lines. Quite frankly, I don't feel that I need to. I play the Spanish, therefore I just go knight c3. Guard my pawn. I don't cash in on this one. They go knight c6, which almost everybody does. I go bishop b5. And we are in a 4 knights game, Spanish variation. You'll notice the similarities. You're paying attention. Knight f3, e4, e5 position. The bishop is on b5 now. It's just a different move order, but this is a Spanish. So, don't get starched by the Stafford Gambit again. Don't play the London, or if you do, practice abstinence for the rest of your life. And Spanish and Caro-Kann, pretty good options. But on the whole, realistically, you can pick anything as long as you enjoy it and you don't get absolutely squished in 8 moves. Just have fun. So, thank you for watching.